Are there any other suggestions?
Well, how are we dealing with the e-school concept? Are we dealing with that as a school, as a board goal, or how are we planning to, I mean, we're looking to do something there. We're going to make a decision whether to go forward, not go forward.
Right.
Obviously, it's part of our capital improvement plan, but should that be a board goal that we spend X amount of time and we start laying out the time parameters and processes and analysis in monthly meetings, weekly meetings, whatever.
Well, I guess we will.
Well, I mean,
be doing
it's
that
on
throughout the year.
it's on our capital improvement for next year, right?
Right.
Okay, so to get something like that to be feasible for next year, we have to think in terms of money, we have to think in terms of referendum, we have to think in terms of, have we even figured out if that's the direction that we want to go with that building, being that there were some potential problems with trying to renovate it. So is that going to be a board goal?
You could propose it as a board goal. I mean, right now we're taking proposals for goals.
I think it's a board goal because it's a huge sum of money and it's a huge project. I think it's something that the board should devote a large sum of their time if we're planning to do it in the next year. If we're not, then, you know, I mean, even if it's 2-3 years down the road,
it's still a big project.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that maybe we need to establish right off the bat. A subcommittee for the renovation of East School and try to maybe get the city on board on that sooner than later as far as getting a representative and how we communicate with the city as far as how we're going to do it. I think that's, to me, would be the largest, most important goal, being that it's the largest expenditure going forward. Do you have any ideas in that concept, Sean?
We got someone chiming in down.
Yeah. I just need some clarification. Are you now taking goals from the floor, not the ones that are here? Because if you are, why in God's name did we have a special meeting? People spent their own time creating these goals. We talked about them last time. And if we're now just opening it for just suggestions, I don't understand why.
Well, no, the goals for 14-15 that we, as a board, did on our 2 retreats is not what we're discussing. We're discussing the 15-16 the following year goals.
And so these are now just going to come from the floor.
Well, we have some that spilled over that weren't used in the 14-15 goals.
Okay.
We didn't have a full.
I just need clarification.
Right. We didn't have a full assembly of a list because originally our list was to put together goals for the 14-15 year, and like I said, we got 40% participation. So now we're doing the 15-16 goals, and all we have to work with is what wasn't selected from the 14-15. And
you want to expand on that?
I'm asking if anybody has any suggestions to expand on it. We don't have to. We're gonna decide. We pulled the 2 that we had discussed.
I got all that. You don't have to explain it.
All right.
Got it.
Thank you. Are there any other recommendations?
We're pretty good at that.
I think the student services goal has to be 2 years.
I agree. And I believe we intended for that to be 2 years.
Yeah, so I think that's a big undertaking. I mean, that's a huge student population, we have a new director, it's gonna be a lot of money,
And that's why we expanded it beyond just special education. Because
which makes it even a bigger task on our end.
Right, because as we look to tag, electives, you know, options, our alternative school.
To enhance on the goal thing, one of the suggestions from the floor, Eleanor, was that we develop SMART goals. So what we were doing was coming up with we'll call it the tagline of the goal, which we're now gonna break down into a series of steps and how we're gonna get there and turn it. It'll end up looking more like the implementation plan.
I like
We
to
were
say,
trying
I
to grab
just,
line items,
yeah,
bullet points, or let's call them, areas of
all of
interest.
these are, to me, these really are your goals. They're just well articulated and clearly defined and measurable, which is everything you want in your goals.
And from the district improvement plan, it's expected that every principal make their school improvement plan, and then every teacher, depending on what's recognized, then they make their goals.
And there's where you get that change
You
of
have a
culture.
thread.
There's where you get, exactly, that collective impact.
Well, what we're expecting is, well, the reason we're going to a year in advance is when we give the goals to the superintendent, we're expecting in the fall to get an implementation plan for those goals, and then how they're going to get worked into the budget. And then those will go into effect on July 1st. The goals, as we looked at this year, were just like every other year. We're in the rearview mirror. We've already set a budget, we've already picked a staff, we've already, it's impossible to ask the superintendent at that point to do something major when you've set, all the walls are built. There's only so much that they can do within those walls. So we're trying to get ahead of that. And, we're trying to pick essentially the topic, and then the implementation plan will be developed over the fall, worked into the budget to be a more effective goal, rather be proactive than reactionary.
And one of the things that we've attempted to do is to seek outside resources through grants, or to figure out how we can do it for no cost, low cost. And
Yes, sir.
Just one more dream of mine, which would be, now that I see how the high school turf is being done and it's being completed at approximately $3 million, not citizens of Torrington tax money, it'd certainly be wonderful if we can move on to getting that type of large sum of money and creating an Olympic swimming pool / ice hockey complex for the district. I think that would be the type of thing that would set Torrington
That's
apart.
the dream goal.
Well, I mean, if
But
there's
you know-
if there's that money out there, if
Now she
there's,
thinks I paid him because I swam and played hockey.
well, I mean.
and he goes to games. Andrew, did
Yes,
he pay you?
well, Kenny and I were good friends. But it certainly would be an attraction that all the other surrounding community towns wouldn't have. And why shouldn't Torrington have something that sets us apart we have things such as the Warner and Nutmeg, they attract
Yeah.
people from all over. But how nice it would be for the Torrington School District to have that type of state-of-art facilities to draw people, again, to want to be in Torrington, live in Torrington. And obviously, I wouldn't expect any of the money to come from the local taxpayers because their tax burden already is so high. But if there's grant money that you know more about it than most, so be nice.
So what we have so far is the 3 programs. We have the Common Core review. We have the Student Services review and implementation for the 15-16. And our other ones are the swimming pool and ice rink, the e-school project as a board goal, partnering between Oliver Wilcotech and Torrington High School. I have to get to the rest of the list here. We have the overhaul of the bylaws and policies. We have the board right policies to define terms of employment. I already did that already. Right on the back of the pages. I have a pad that somebody maybe throw it on the floor. For space. Ah, there we go. We have resubscribe to CAVE was one that was sent in. We have, in order to facilitate proper succession planning, when Cheryl announces her retirement, have a personnel committee begin developing a job description and employment profile for what the board should be looking for in its next superintendent. Not that we're rushing out the door. Just read.
Is this a hint?
No, I'm just reading.
That's the tenure.
What was that?
Tenure.
Yeah.
Tenure. And
You'll go cuckoo by then, 10 years from now.
I don't know.
we have the implementation of a K-5 foreign language program in a budget-conscious manner. We have the board develop a fiscally responsible budget that supports the district school improvement plan. And that's pretty much it of what we have on the table right now.
There are a lot of things that can be combined, you know, based upon maybe a goal of not only improving, well, I think we're working on the image, but improvement on what Torrington Public Schools can offer. You know, how do, you would include marketing. I mean, once we have programming, and what specific programming, whether it's a pool and an ice hockey ring or rink or programs of study that, you know, target an area of concentration, or, but I think it should come under a broader goal of, and I don't want to say improving, but, you know, how do we develop and design what our public schools will offer that will become
You have to
attractive.
brand us.
Hmm?
You have to brand us.
Yes.
We're a brand.
Yeah, and
We are.
one of those pieces would, I think, also include is that we have to take a look at the impact of school choice on Torrington. I'll end it there, but I just feel that things are happening to Torrington Public Schools because of school choice, which is reverse to what school choice was supposed to do.
But do you want that to be a 15, 16, or I think that's something we need to tackle? That's a gorilla we have to tackle this year.
It is, but it also then goes with everything else. Yes, I'm gonna start bringing the information forward.
But we're trying to set next year's goals.
Okay, but with that one then,
But the answer to that is in developing the programs,
mhm.
and that's really the answer to that
But
school of
it's-
choice, because kids are picking to go somewhere else because we don't offer the programs. So if we start expanding and enhancing our programs, you solve that problem. If the kid can take a bus from his front door and just go to Torrington High School to get the same things that they're going to Hartford or Bloomfield or wherever else they're going to get,
I'm even talking, but it's even right around here because
What?
every other district, their school population is decreasing. But these, our technical and agriculture schools will continue to pull more kids from Torrington because we have a larger population to pull from. And I would really like to take a close look at how our numbers have increased over the years, because in our neighboring communities, as their population goes down, they can't provide the feeders. So maybe at Wamogo, 10 years ago, they only took 20 students a year, and now, you know, we could be up to 40 a year, or 50. So I really have to take a look at that, if I even have that information here, because that's something that I'm worried about.
And I think that's the problem with Torrington as a whole, and as what we deal with specifically education, which is what are we really trying to excel at in the Torrington school system? if your largest segment of the population, let's say, is special ed, do you put your resources so as to make Torrington known as the best special ed district in the state? I think you need to try to create whatever Torrington is going to be in the future and the education system is. You want to put your resources to create that as the best. I mean, that should be the goal, not to do just everything. And that's the problem with Torrington. It just has such a diverse population. There's just so many different needs of such a wide variety of students that it's really hard for Torrington to be known as doing anything excellent. I'm not saying we don't do things excellent, but to have that reputation where where you can have a diverse population of those students that are high performing as far as wanting to go to college, those families that want high performance as far as special ed, those families that are bilingual or second English speaking students, or how do you create a diverse school system with limited resources so as to have excellence for all of the different diverse demands that the population has? I don't know if there is an answer unless you have lots of money. The tax base isn't here for Torrington to do that, and the state of Connecticut, and we discussed this for 6 years, doesn't seem to have a formula that addresses Torrington's needs.
Well, I think that gets addressed when you're selecting 3 programs of study to enhance.
Okay.
I think you're addressing that, because you're obviously not gonna invest in something that is only gonna service less than 1% of the population. You're gonna try to hit the things that are gonna service the greater population to enhance those programs to make it more of, if you take a look at why everybody's leaving.
Okay.
Say you have 100 kids that leave a year. Why do they leave? Where do they go? Are they going VOAG? Are they going to performing arts schools? What are they going to? And when you see why you're losing these 100 kids, obviously you target that population that's leaving, because obviously there's a need for that we don't offer, to bring those kids back so that you're not paying the out-of-district tuition. And then, as we discussed with the options programs through school improvement almost a year and a half ago, was to try to create a product in Torrington that the neighboring districts that are busing their kids to Hartford, they can bus them to Torrington.
Right.
Which is the partnership we had with the Warner when we developed that coursework, was to, instead of kids going to Hartford to a magnet school, they can come to Torrington and go to the Warner for that performing arts education. And then we talked about partnering with CJR for culinary, electrical,
Carpentry.
and carpentry, and setting up, because what a lot of the places, if you go to the magnet schools or you go to the out-of-district schools, they don't offer 37 ECE and AP courses like we do.
That's a big.
So if you're in a school district that only has 11 ECE and AP classes, and then you're going to Hartford to get the rest of your coursework, your performing arts, your culinary, whatever, that student can pick Torrington as a school of choice. They have 37 of those courses at their disposal because we already have them. Because now you're saving money, because our problem now is we have 4 kids in an ECE class. Cost per pupil is ridiculous. You get Litchfield to send 7 kids here. Now you have 11 kids in that ECE class. Your cost per pupil is going down, but it didn't cost you anything because you already have the teacher. You're already teaching the course. So you market yourself as, we have all these programs, but we're missing something that's making these, and again, 100 is just a number, that is making these kids decide to go somewhere else. So how do we get them to stay and then attract our neighbors' kids to come here instead of traveling all the way across the state?
And all I want to say is that I don't think the State Department of Education and their policies and what they expect this district to do benefit what you're saying are our goals, because they put, know, what they want you to do with students that are disruptive, that don't want to be in the system, that are just apathetic to education. They demand a school district like Torrington allocate so much resources to that segment of the population. If you only have so much of a pie to split, the more the state keeps saying, you got to keep putting more and more of your resources into this artificial graduation rate that may or may not be beneficial to the kids that you're actually saying you're benefiting. You know, what you have to do with expulsion hearings, what you have to do with discipline, that's all taking away money that can benefit the types of things that you're talking about. But unless the state figures a way for a district like Torrington not to spend so much resources on that aspect of our education population, I don't know how you really get to.
That's where the branding comes in. If you get kids from other districts to come here, you charge tuition.
And I'm
You
trying
generate revenue,
and I
which
just-
helps you afford those programs.
And
Or
it goes,
don't treat the kids as mutually exclusive. Perhaps that child that has the behavioral problems can be encouraged to participate in one of these new programs, and then that's the light that keeps them in school.
And that's part of the cultural shift that we're looking for.
Just hoping we can move, we're almost an hour behind what our schedule supposedly was, and we're still not doing anything really with these goals. We just keep talking. Do we do something?
Yeah. We can, do we agree on the 3 programs? Does everybody generally agree on that one? Everybody agrees on the Common Core review and public education one? We agree on the student services review and implementation? We're looking for one more out of, we have partnering with Oliver Wolcott Tech, THS, we have the eSchool as a project, as a goal, swimming pool and ice rink, marketing goal / branding, and school of choice review and analysis. Do we have a suggestion?
well, how about 2? And 1 would be eSchool, and then whatever the board wants for the second one.
All right, let's make it easy. Partnering with Oliver Wolcott Tech, THS.
Yeah, it's multiple year. I mean, that's not.
Right.
But if you're looking at the programs, I suppose you wouldn't want to implement programs that they have over there if you're planning to partner with them.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't be during the day, it'd be after hours.
eSchool is a goal.
We already have it. It's on our capital improvement plan. We have to. I don't.
But the thing about when you're dealing from the budget aspect of it, I think we need to deal with it from a more broad-based aspect of dealing with the city. Do we want to set up a?
But we would be
committee?
taking it from the capital plan for 15-16, moving it to 16-17.
Okay.
Because you'd be setting up the group to analyze it in 15-16
Yeah.
and implement it. So you can't implement it after you already started. So we'd have to be consciously making a decision that we're moving eSchool out a year
Well, and I think
to do that.
And I think such a large project needs that type
do that,
of
Dave. Let's go
time
to stand up
parameter to work with the city.
Right? How about swimming pool, ice rink?
That's more of a pipe dream.
I'm with you on that one.
I-
I'd love to see an ice rink.
Can I make a comment? So I think if we went with the branding goal, like how are we gonna brand ourselves, a lot of the ones that we were just discussing would be able to fall under that and make it a multi-year type goal. Because, I mean, like renovations to the school, you talk about early childhood, things that we can offer with a new building. I mean, that goes into how do you market and how do you brand yourself. You know, same thing, like being able to explore like an ice rink and that type of thing in terms of the athletic and recreational opportunities that we offer our students. That's a branding idea. Like, I think you can lump all of those under the branding one and just make it a multi-year goal that you study and look at how you want to do it, and those are part of it.
Feelings?
I agree.
like it.
Sure. Okay. So number 4 is basically going to be a marketing. Oh, God, I can't do this. Yes, no, I
We didn't agree on
Organizational management. Post-construction.
I had enough.
that. We didn't agree on that. It's the one, you didn't ask me.
All right, our 4-15-16 goals are going to be to develop 3 courses of study to expand options in the secondary level. The Common Core review and public session. The student services review and implementation, because that was going to be a year 2. And then we're setting a multi-year goal of marketing goal / branding of where Torrington should go and what we feel it should be, and essentially setting a plan going forward.
I think an important part of that plan also has to be recognizing what Torrington needs. And I think that Cheryl, and what the summer invention camp
Yes.
did was exactly that, identifying that we have a tremendous need for workforce. I was in a meeting this morning. There's a local manufacturer that is actually looking to use the visa program to go out of the country to find workforce to bring back to fill the workforce needs in his industry.
Go to Waterbury. Waterbury has that
Can't
training
leave China.
program, and they have all these prevailing
We've
wage
spoken with
projects,
Kathy Awad,
and they can't get
absolutely.
people to fill the jobs.
We have.
Unemployment rate of 11%, but they can't get people to fill the jobs.
They don't have the skills.
Right.
And that's what we, I
Yeah.
mean,
But that's where you develop your marketing. You work with the economic development of the city, and which direction is the city headed, and we.
Yeah.
Torrington used to have a lot of manufacturing and a lot of stuff at the high school because that was the base of Torrington, but as that base has left, those courses have left, and
We're looking at sewers,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's like bringing a sewing program to the school, you know?
Okay, moving on to THS and TMS handbooks. They're in your packet. They have to come before us for review every year. They're essentially the same as they were last year and the year before.
There are no diagrams of the building, no maps or.
Cheryl, could I pass you the student handbook to each student? Does each student get one each year, or we get one in your freshman?
No.
Everyone gets one each year? Okay.
Because our course of studies change, and policies change.
Right, they get amended by the policy changes. That's really the changes.
Schedules change.
Okay.
Are there quizzes and tests on
Yeah, we include those in the handbook as well, so they can be ready. We actually only put the answer sheets in there, and then
We'll know if they read it, depending on how well they do on the exam.
Can I get a motion to go into executive session to review the local 1579 Council 4 contract with inviting in Mr. Campolito?
So executive session.
Second? Take Paul.